Today I am going to be doing eyelash tutorial, showing you how to add some blush to a plushie and give it those cute little touches that make it oh so adorable. Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat. I run NocturneCat.Crochet on Instagram. This is Loki, my assistant for today. If you can see him, he might be a little bit out of frame. But today I am going to show you how to add eyelashes to a plushie and some blush just to give it a cutesy little look and some details that special touch when you're creating a plushie. So let's get started. Today I'm going to be adding blush and eyelashes to this little bunny. This is my newest pattern. I am almost finished writing it up. I was inspired by these gorgeous eyes from Lush Luxe Loops. I love the flowers. It made me think of springtime, and I was like, wow, I really want to make it into a bunny. Thus, the bunny was born. I don't have a name for it yet. I am going back and forth on names. Honestly, I go back and forth on if I'm going to make the pattern at all, but that's part of being an artist, isn't it? So today I'm going to show you how to add eyelashes, blush, and then I might even do a little tutorial on adding toe beans to your plushie. So without further ado, let's add some eyelashes. I'm probably going to change the angle of the camera just so that you have a better view of the process so you can really zone in on the eyes. Okay, so I've fixed my camera angle so we can really see what's going on here. So I want to start with the eyelashes. The first thing you're going to need is some thread to do embroidery. I like this. It's from Loops and Threads. It's not too thick, but it's also thick enough that you're going to see it. So you're going to want to get a decent length for this. I usually do 2 or 3 lashes, depending on the day and how fancy I'm feeling. Probably going to do 2 today because that's usually what I can fit on there. So you want to have this and a nice needle. Again, I like to use a curved needle. Wow. I like to use a curved needle. It is so much easier for me so that I can figure out where I need to go. All right, so first thing we're going to do is thread our needle and get our plushie ready. Now, when you're adding eyelashes, it's going to take a few tries because you want to try and get as close to the eye as possible when you're adding in eyelashes. So I'm going to go here on the side so that you can tie it off later. I want to get fairly close to the eye. I'm about I'm not quite halfway on the eye. Pull through, leave a tail over there because you're going to need to tie it off. Now I want to go about the same stitch. So I'll bring it over here. I'm getting as close to that edge as possible. I want to be almost underneath the eye when I go through. And I'm going to thread through to the other side. Keep it even. That looks terrifying right there, but there you go. Pull through. Now don't pull too tight because we're going to be using glue to measure it out. And also this can help you figure out if your placement is right. Because sometimes you'll be like, yeah, this is totally the right place. And then you look at it and you're like, well, now the bunny looks angry. So look at it, check to see if it's where you want it to be before you glue, obviously. But know that we're going to leave this a little loose because I am going to be adding glue. So here we are, going to kind of draw our line over here. This is where we need to be. See, sometimes it even gives us a little trouble. Go through. And I'm going to pull up through to the top because I'm going to glue down the lash and add another layer over here. So now we got our bunny looking kind of crazy. The lashes are clearly over the tops of the bunny, which is not our objective. If it is, that's cool too. but we want to get it up here on the lash line. So that's why I leave it a little loose so that I can then go in with glue and tack it down. So I like to use Fabri-Tac to get this placement right. I only use a small amount of it when I'm working with it. So be sure you're being judicious with where you put it. So I want to put a little bit in the corner of the eye. And then I'm going to put a tiny bit up here at the top. And then I'm going to put another drop down here at this corner. I will say Fabri-Tac kind of moves around a little bit. So just be aware of that. So then I'm going to come in here with my needle and gently lift the yarn and put it where that glue is. If you just go straight up into it, it will catch it on the edges as opposed to lifting the actual yarn and getting it placed directly on top. And then for this side, I can just pull. And place it down. You do need to hold it for a second to let it dry. So I'm going to hold it where I want it to go. Kind of smooth it down. You notice I didn't put glue on every single spot because for right now, I just want to get it in place because I'm going to go back over with another piece to make the lash. If you get any glue on there, you can kind of get it off too. I like that about Fabri-Tac. I can actually pull it off if I need to. Okay, so we have the first layer on for the eyelash. Now I'm going to go over and do it on this side. The reason I have it tacked down before I add the second layer is because otherwise your two pieces are going to overlap each other too much. A little in the corner. Make sure we don't have any wispies. And again, going in here, kind of lifting the yarn before placing it where you want it to go. That gets it above the eye. Holding it in place. Nice thing is the corners usually get tugged into the right position because you should have some tension with the embroidery, not too much. Okay, again, holding it in place where you need it to adhere. And go in and clean that up just a touch while it's still tacky. Okay, yay. All right, so we have our first layer on our plushie. Now that we're going to be adding a lash to the side, I'm going to just thread back through. Honestly, I'm on this side, so let's work smarter, not harder, people. So you can do this one of two ways. You can start where you want the lash to go. Like say I wanted the lash to be here. And then you can kind of see where you're going. You can do it this way. You can start here and go over. That's up to you. I've done both ways, so for me it's not really an issue whichever way I start. Kind of want this to be over another stitch because it's a little too high. I want it to be more demure, kind of off the side. Honestly, a little too long. So you can change the look of a plushie just with something as simple as an eyelash and embroidery. It changes the dynamic of the look. and can give a lot of personality to it, which I know sounds a little crazy to be like, yes, give your plushie personality. But you know, it does. It does. Sometimes those tiny little details are what make the difference. Okay, so I like the length of the lash here. I'm going to go about halfway, and I'm going to go underneath right here and pull through. And I'm not going to pull too tight because I know I'm going to be gluing it down. The nice thing about Allie's Softy Plus is it's fluffy, so it is going to fluff over any spots that may not look the best. So that is definitely a choice when I use my yarn. All right, so we have the lash. Now, this is optional to add glue for the second lash because it's a little bit tighter. I'm okay with the placement of it. I don't technically need to glue it down. However, I am a particular individual, so I am going to glue it down. Now that I know I like the placement, I'm just going to put a tiny, tiny, tiny drop of glue right here to keep it in place. And I'm actually going to just pull the yarn to get it where I want it to be. There we go. Easy as that, right? And now there's just a tiny bit of glue there. It's keeping that lash where it needs to be. And I can go work on the other side. So if you come over here and you look at this and you're like, this is not looking right, guess what? Glue exists for a reason. You can come in here and glue this down as well, because it shifted just enough to make her look angry, which is kind of hilarious. So if you wanted to be angry, you got it. But I don't want her to be angry today because this plushie is actually going to my mom. She saw my draft of it as I was working on it, and she had that look in her eye, and I knew that she was going to beg for this plushie. And you know what? Mom never has to do that. All she has to do is say, I like that, and I'm going to give it to her because I love my mama. So, fix that eye. Perfect. Now, I will show you how I go from this side over to make an eyelash. I do think the other way might be a tiny bit easier, but again, it's a personal preference, I think, at this point. So you want to know where your lash is going. So this one went pretty far over, so like 2/3 of the way over. So I want to probably get to about here on the plushie. So I'm going to go back in where I was. I think here will be about right. Let's see if I got far enough down. Don't think I did. This is the hardest thing, is you have to get really, really, really close to the eye. And that can be tough because the stitches are underneath the sinker eye. So you might have to maneuver it a bit. There we go. See, now I am under that eye and under the stitch. All right. So for here, this does make it easier in being able to see where you're going, kind of measuring it out, being like, where do you want that to be? So I'm going to go right about here, see if this is right. Now the nice thing is I can measure it against the other one. See if we've got a similar vibe. I would say so. If you, yeah. One fun thing you can do is change the angle. So you could also angle it down to give it a different look. Which honestly, I think I'm going to give that a try just to see. It looked similar, but honestly not similar enough. I'll say you want to look and see where your stitch is because it's going to change the trajectory. So I'm going to hope this is right. Ha, yes, I'm okay with this. Measure against the other side. Looking good. On this one, I'm definitely going to go in with a little bit of glue because it's sitting a little on top of the plushie. So I'm going to get a tiny bit of glue, or it's sitting a little bit on top of the eye. So just a tiny bit of glue, tap it down to get it right where you want it. And then I can pull that tighter and we'll cinch it in. All right, and there we go. We have our eyelashes on our bunny. I'm going to tie this off over here and we will move on to the blush. Okay, so our bunny has her eyelashes. The next thing we're going to do is add some blush. Now you can do a traditional blush with yarn. So you would take this yarn and go over 2 or 3 stitches. For this one, I wanted to do blush with some eyeshadow. So I have an eyeshadow palette that has some pinks and reds. You can also use straight up blush. That's your choice. This is just what I have on hand. So you want to get a little brush and get some color. Now I've got just a tiny bit on here, and I want to put the blush right under her eyes. I'm going to go in and just start adding a little blush. Now you'll want to probably do a little bit more than you think you need to make it stand out. But I go over about 2 or 3 stitches. I know it seems really dark right now, but when you start moving it around and blending it out into the plushie, it lightens it up. So I'm kind of blending down, blending up like you would with, traditional makeup. I like them to look a little rosy because I want it to show. I'm going to go in with a lighter color now around the edges. It's got a little bit of sparkle to it, and add that as well so that it blends it. And she's got some blush. She's so cute. All right, I'm gonna add to the next side. If it's too much blush for you, you can always go in with a makeup wipe and take some of it off. I've definitely done, someone's jealous. Hi. I've definitely done that before. Loki. He says, Mother, can I be beautiful too? You're already beautiful, baby. Loki. Come on, honey. So adding in that blush, blending it out. You can do as much or as little as you want. I want this one to have a little bit more, especially because in pictures it doesn't show up as well when you have blush on there. So I need to go in with a light color. It's got a little bit of shimmer, a little bit of sparkle. I'm going to add that in and blend it in and around. Kind of working it into the yarn so we don't have too much pigmentation and we also don't lose pigmentation. Quick and easy. And again, you can adjust your colors as needed. I wanted her to be a little bit more exaggerated with her blush, so I gave her a little bit more. You can do a little bit less. That's up to you. But now she has some rosy cheeks. And again, you can do what feels best to you. Like if this is too dark, do a lighter color. That's fine. If it turns out too dark and you're like, I messed it up, get a makeup wipe. You can get a makeup wipe and wash some of it off. Honestly, most of the time I feel like I go too dark and then I actually see it in pictures and I'm like, oh, never mind. It actually works better than I thought. So that's quick on adding blush. Again, you can do it the traditional way, which would be to add 2 or 3 stitches over one spot, or you can do like this where it's more blended out, looks a little different. So next thing I want to do is add some toe beans because she needs her cute little feet to have toe beans on them. For this, I am going to be getting my yarn. I'm going to be cutting off a length of it so that I can make those toe beans. I'm not sure why toe beans just make everything look even cuter than it is. It's just one of those cute little additions to a plushie. It really helps it come together. All right. So I have my yarn threaded and I'm going to go in here and make toe beans. I am going to do 3. So I'll probably put one here, and one here. And then I'm going to do the paw pad down here. I'm going to go in from the back of the foot and find the middle, the bottom, pull the yarn through. This is quite a long piece of yarn because I'm going to be doing a lot of work on here. So for the first little bit, it's going to be annoying. So I want to go probably about 3 stitches up, maybe 4 in the middle. And then I'm going to go back into that same stitch that I just came through, pull to start making the foot pad. Now I'm going to go into the same stitch over and over again, which seems kind of counterintuitive. You would think it would just pull through onto the same spot. It'll actually go beside it and start making a oval shape. And you can guide your yarn where you need it to be. So I have it now going on this side and pull through. Don't pull too tight. And you see how it's starting to round it out already just by going in the same stitch. So now I'm going to switch it to the other side. So it's pulling through on the other side. You can see right there. It's already doing what we need it to do. So I'm going to go in one more time and put this one to the opposite side. So pull all of that yarn through. So here's the yarn going on that side and pull. So now we have it kind of rounded. If you want to do more, you definitely can. The reason I don't go over multiple stitches and why I go in the same one is because it bows it out on the sides as opposed to giving us multiple points of entry that are going to give it more of a square effect. And again, if you want to make this a little bit thicker, you can by going in again and again and guiding the yarn onto either side to give it that rounded look. So now that I have it looking the way I want to, I'm going to go up this way to do the toe beans, because then it's going to give me one more round on that side. See how it goes on the side. Boom. Look at that. So cute. So we're going to do the same technique but smaller for the toe beans. You've got, I would say, do 2 stitches. And again, go into that same one over and over again. I will probably do this about 4 or 5 times into that same stitch to round it out. Oh, one of the pitfalls of working with a long piece of yarn is knots. Haha, you will not thwart me today, knot. And in I'm going to do it again. And again, putting the yarn to the different sides so that you can create that oval shape. There we go. Again. Go to that side. And one more time on this side. All right. Boom, done. So now we have one of the little toe beans. I think it's just a fun little touch to give that plushie some whimsy. I'm gonna go to about the middle of the foot to do the next one. Again, 2 stitches down, insert, and add about 4 to 5 rounds of this. You know, some people don't love embroidery. I totally understand that. It definitely adds a bit more time to the plushie and can be frustrating because it's not as straightforward and it does take time to figure out exactly how you want it. I personally enjoy embroidery. I think I like it because it's just that little extra detail that makes something pop. It gives me time to really appreciate what I've created and be allowed to be proud of myself. I think so often we are not given the time to say, wow, I did that, and enjoy our work and be proud of it. I know sometimes, you know, if we go to markets, you get to have that moment where someone's super excited about your work or they're like, wow, this is really cool. But those moments don't happen as often as I think we need. And embroidery is one of those times where I do like to be reflexive and I like to say, this is really cool and I've done a good job. And I hope that maybe that's something that others will do too. Taking the time to admire your artistry, admire the work that you've done, and to acknowledge that you are an artist and what you have done is really cool. And honestly, you did the thing. You did the thing and you did a good job. Okay, so here we have the little toe beans. You can make them any size that you want. You can make it bigger, you can make them smaller. That is personal preference, which I think is the cool thing about embroidery. So if I wanted to make this bigger, I definitely could. If I wanted to make the toe beans bigger or smaller would be a little bit harder, but you definitely could do it. So I've got the first one done. I'm going to hop on over. Oh no, I did not mean to do a pun. I am so sorry. I'm going to go over to the other side. Don't tell my husband I just made a pun. And I'm going to add those same toe beans on this side as well. So I'm going to tie this off down at the bottom. You know what, let's just give you one extra little moment. And once I have this tied off, I will start on the other foot. And again, this is why I like to start at the back, bottom back, so that I can then go and tie the yarn off, and it's at the back of the plushie. Makes it a lot easier to hide those yarn tails. You notice this bunny still needs their tail because I'm gonna make it fluffy. Of course I am. I do love fluffy yarn. All right, hide the tails inside the plushie. So there you can see, so cute. And we'll go over and do the next one. All right, So we're going to do similar to the last one where we're going in the middle of the foot, pulling it through, and 3 or 4 stitches up. I'm going to start that sequence again of pulling through and making that oval shape on the foot. Go. I had a market this past weekend. I don't often do markets, but I was really excited to do this local convention, and I met some lovely people that really help refill that social meter that sometimes is lacking when you work from home and often don't get to see people and interact with people that buy your plushies, because a lot of mine are sold online, which is so awesome, and I am so grateful for the people that buy online because they are buying it without even seeing it in person. But it was really cool because I got to talk with people, and some of them commented on how this is an art form, and I really appreciated that. And I don't think they knew how much that meant to me to be called an artist, because it's not something that I have easily been able to acknowledge even in myself, is that I am an artist. I guess I felt for some reason that because it was crochet and it was yarn that it wasn't art. But in the last year, I've really thought about it, and I was like, wait, this is art. This is an art form. If it were paint, I would still call the person an artist. If it were clay, I would call the person an artist. So really, it doesn't matter what medium it is. It's artistry, and it is imagination and creativity and a skill that has been worked on and honed over years for years of practice. And I really appreciated all the kind words and the people that came out and showed support for the local artist and calling me one and helping me believe in myself a little bit more. Because again, it is harder when you work from home and you don't get that face-to-face interaction. Can't see the reactions of people to your artwork. It can feel almost like living on an island and not knowing how cool and how unique each piece is. I think that's why I enjoy testing patterns, is because I get to see the creativity of each person and how we can all look at the same pattern and come up with something different, and each one is unique. I just think that is the coolest thing. It's still the same pattern and it'll have a similar look, because that's kind of the point of it, but everyone has their own flair. Everyone has their unique style that is part of their artistry and part of their brand. And I have always enjoyed that. I like to see the creativity. I like to see people enjoying what they do and expressing themselves through their art. And it's what makes the world fun. And it's what I appreciate about the crochet community, is how cool and how unique we all get to be. But I hope that for those that are watching this, that are artists as well, that you know that you are an artist. And what you do is really cool and really important. So here we go. She now has her toe beans. I do need to lint roll her because my cat exists in the same space as me. And add a little tail, and I will show you the final look. Okay, and here we go. We have our finished bunny. She's got nice rosy cheeks, little toe beans that give her that cutesy look. I wanted to create one that could sit on its own and have like exaggerated ears. So I wanted one that could sit on its own and has like some really long exaggerated ears, because that's always something I like, is some part of the plushie that's a little bit more exaggerated. But this is it. We got our eyelashes, we got our blush, and our toe beans, and she's looking adorable. And again, all of these things you can do to your taste. If you wanted to do more eyelashes, you could. If you want to do just one single sweep, that's also something you can do. If you want the toe beans to be bigger, all of these things are malleable. And I hope that you can now go and look at a pattern and say, I can add some fun little details to it and make it my own. So thank you for being here. If you stuck around this long, don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave me a comment or questions of maybe videos you'd like to see. Otherwise, thanks for being here. Bye, everyone.